Alright, welcome everyone to Improperganda episode 5. My name's Arlen Finnerty, and the batteries are about to die, so I'm going to change them and do this again. Okay.
There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Welcome to Improperganda episode 5. I am your host Arlen Finnerty, at least for this episode, which we're going to be covering paranormal goings-on, including ghosts, cryptids, mediums, all that kind of bullshit. Or maybe it's not bullshit. Depends on how you feel. And later on we're going to talk about UFOs, maybe get into some conspiracy. It's going to be really fun, and this is a special episode too, because today we have our first guest, Nick Holloway. Say hello to Nick.
Hey. Hi everyone.
Good friend of ours who is going to make some contributions. So so let's get her started. Ghosts, goblins. Mm-hmm. It's a funny thing because I've always sort of believed that if you really want to see creepy shit, you're going to see it. But at the same time, maybe that's not how it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot. But I want to start out with talking about ghosts and their existence. Mm-hmm. Do they exist? Is it all in your head? I mean, everything's all in your head anyway. I'm looking at Ed. I don't know. We've had lots of talks about this shit, so.
Ghosts. I'd like to believe in ghosts. I don't know if I've ever necessarily seen one.
You say like to.
Well, I mean, I do want to. I'm like them doing the X-Files thing again. I want to believe. But it's true though. I mean, I do want to see it. If it exists, I want to see it. I've had some experiences, for sure, but like nothing I can really concretely say that was a ghost. I'd definitely like to see it if it's for real. And I'd like to see it with like a group of people like you guys. Like if we all saw a ghost pass through this room right now, I'd be like, okay, that's real. If I saw it by myself, I'd be like, well, I'm going to the hospital now.
Yeah, I haven't been sleeping well lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had a bit too much caffeine. What about you, Al? What do you think? Ghosts?
Arlen, can I just say up front how excited I indeed am to see that the new Ghostbusters is coming out?
Don't get Nick started on Ghostbusters. Do not get Nick started on
Ghostbusters. That's the whole episode right there.
Yeah, that's very
particularly because I do have a little bit of a crush on Kristen Wiig.
Oh, fair enough.
Who doesn't? Yep. Kristen Wiig, if you're listening.
She's a funny gal. You know,
come be a guest on our show.
Love your stuff, Kristen. Yeah. That's about all I know about ghosts.
Fair enough.
Although I do believe that people should look at it like, you know, if ghosts, like anything in that realm, I sort of automatically assume would be sort of able to either not be seen, or if it wanted to be seen, it would be seen fully. There wouldn't be like accidental sightings.
Wishy-washy.
Yeah.
I think,
I suppose.
I kind of disagree with that, because I think it could be just energy. Like when I think of a ghost, I just think it's just leftover energy. Like maybe something really traumatic happened. Maybe that's sort of imprinted. Because I mean, human beings have a lot of biomechanical electricity and energy going on. So perhaps there's just a fragment of that left behind in, say, a murder, or if somebody dies too young. Like I think it's possible. I just...
completely devoid of personality.
Yeah, I think it's just a biological thing. I don't think it's a malevolent force.
There's like that. It's like a lot of people say that if you're in a space for a long time, you leave behind like an imprint, and like it's just like somebody going around doing their daily routine. You know what I mean? Like there's that one ghost story of the couple that like gets this like cabin in the woods, and they go and there's all like a bunch of stuff left over from the previous owner, and then they just move some stuff around, and that night apparently just all hell breaks loose in the place. Like just doors are slamming and all this stuff.
Wow.
So they go to the cabin owner, and they're like, yeah, we can't stay there. It's really haunted. They're like, oh, did you move the boots? Because if you move the boots, the old man gets really upset. So they put the boots back where they were, and then the rest of the week they were fine.
They were fine.
Nothing else happened.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Nick, what's your
yeah?
What's your Nick? What are your thoughts on?
I'm kind of with Ed on this.
Spirits.
I think I haven't really seen one. I feel like I've felt, a presence at some point. Just you feel kind of odd and weird and like there's someone watching you. But I mean, I haven't seen anything, so I can't definitively say that ghosts are real.
So you're on the fence.
I'm on the fence.
Yeah. So nobody here is really dead set. Like, fuck that. You're all nuts if you see.
I'm not saying no.
So we all think there's a possibility.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Podcast over.
Even if you think about
thanks everybody and good night.
Even if you think about humans' eyesight and hearing, we can only hear or see in certain spectrums. So there's a whole other realm that we have no idea.
That's very true. I heard a theory that was really interesting about when you're a child or when you're young, you're conditioned to learn that all that stuff's not real. Like, oh, that doesn't exist. There's nothing there, this and that. But commonly when you're really young, little kids will point and see things, kind of like a cat would, which is kind of unsettling. I mean, have you ever been around like a toddler and they're like following something with their eyes and you're like, well, they're seeing something that I'm not privy to. Yeah. And that's because maybe they haven't been
They experience the boogeyman. Mm-hmm. And we have to go in and say, no, there is no boogeyman. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But what the hell do we know?
Yeah. And then they just sort of shut it out. And
then we shut the door and a hand comes from out of the bed. And or from out of the closet. And
they eat you forever.
And then they start screaming again.
Like the Babadook.
Yeah.
That's always been intriguing, though. I heard another thing, too, which is I don't know if you believe in past lives, but when you're really young or when you're born, the bridge to the past life is so much shorter that you're more in tune with that world. So you'll have experiences and see things that somebody who's been on Earth for 30, 40, 50 years, your bridge is so much farther from your past life, if you believe in past lives. I don't know. But I don't know. It seems like we all believe in something.
There's a serious study with kids right now, looking into young children and the stories they tell. Like there is actually a serious study, like a scientific study, just trying to figure out where these stories come from, because they have really pretty good detail about lives that actually match up with lives that were here before. And I mean, obviously it could be all make believe, and like what are the odds of obviously you're gonna find somebody that's close to that. But it's interesting anyways, reincarnation.
Well, genetic memory is something that sort of plays a role with evolution. So it's like you are born with inherent traits, abilities, and knowledge that hasn't even been taught to you yet. You see it in the animal kingdom all the time. Like fish know how to go there, birds know how to fly there. Like there's something ingrained in them. There's memory from other generations.
Yeah.
Things that they haven't necessarily experienced yet. They just know where to go and know what to do. It's imprinted like in their building blocks, and it's probably the same with people.
Probably.
And, maybe
that's why we all love to burn fossil fuel and destroy the earth. It's just ingrained in us.
Oh, it's just the best.
Yeah. Kill it.
We just want to eliminate that part of ourselves.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What fucking earth ever do for me?
Everyone loves a campfire.
But that's like when you're camping and you're all sitting around the fire, you sort of feel a bit de-evolved, but in a good way and more detached, and you're just looking at the fire. You can't stop looking at it, and it just makes you feel very, I don't know, whole or primal. Yeah, you're looking at the fire.
Just like getting back to that fire.
Stripping away all the layers of Facebook and YouTube and all the horse shit and going back to what generations of people used to do.
It's a cohesive force, too, because generally speaking, there's going to be just one fire, and everyone's around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're all together, you're doing the same thing, you're drawn to the same center.
It's a communal thing.
It's a commune. Kind of like here.
Yeah.
All right, so we're all sort of, I would say, on the same page. We're going to get to personal experience in a little bit, but I wanted to cover another interesting paranormal phenomenon. I'm laughing because it's just, I know where this conversation is going to go before I'm even going to have it. But cryptids. And cryptids, by definition, are, Bigfoot and things that can't quite be explained by science. Sea monsters, Loch Ness monster, that kind of shit.
Yes.
This is a tough one because most of them, from what I've researched, have been hoaxes. You know, people in suits, that kind of thing. But I'd say there's a strong case for maybe something in the ocean being valid because it's so uncharted.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably things that don't come anywhere near people ever that we'll never see until maybe they wash up on a beach somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Well, even in recent times, there's been lots of animals that they thought that just came around. Like the Komodo dragon was one of them. Where it was just like they thought it was just a myth until it wasn't that long ago they actually found that thing, right? Well, I mean,
it was like 50, 60 years or whatever.
Or maybe even 100 years ago, but it wasn't that long ago they actually found that thing, right? And it was just a legend for a long time. People were like, it's bullshit. There's no such thing as a dragon, which there isn't, but
that thing comes pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to describe it to me that sort of thing I'd never seen, I'd be like, no, you're wrong.
How its saliva has like anthrax in it and stuff. Like, that's some science fiction shit right there. But it's true. They do.
Yeah.
Well, and we have our own cryptid in Victoria, BC. We have the
Caddy.
Cadborosaurus, the caddy.
That's true. Yeah.
Caddy.
So we have our own little cryptid right in town.
You guys are
That's true.
Victoria natives. Is there any? Have you heard any stories about that whatsoever? Has anybody told you a story about?
Well, there's a famous black and white photograph of a carcass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I
like
think
a
it's 1947 or something like that.
it's like a huge sea snake.
The globster?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the word you're looking for, isn't it?
Well, not quite that broken down, I would say.
Or at all.
Some of us aren't as educated as you are.
Hey, you can't use that. That's for another podcast.
That's for another podcast. That's
What, are you
right.
trying to get us sued?
I'm going to replace you with the steel barking there.
Kevin Smith's on his way here right now. I didn't know there was a globster. I know it's a stupid fucking word, but it's actually It's actually a Wikipedia article, so it has to be valid. It's just the phrase given to any massive unidentified shit that washes up on a beach. It's called a globster. I didn't know we had one here though. At some point, that's interesting.
Could it be like shit from Japan?
May
may or may not be radioactive.
At this point, probably. A lot of those have been debunked. Actually, I didn't do a lot of research for this particular episode, which is funny because I'm hosting it. Haha. But I was reading about a lot of the different globsters, and I came across a couple of them that have recently been identified as beluga whale carcasses. So,
okay.
because I mean, there's so much clickbait out there right now, as you guys all know, being on social media and stuff, and these fucking things are so ridiculous. And the descriptions of these carcasses, like, had all these protrusions and fur and stuff, and it's like, well, first off, no, they didn't. The fur is just connective tissue that's been exposed from decomposition. A lot of the protrusions are just random masses of fat. So when it washes up on a beach, they look horrifying.
Yeah.
But they're not a creature from the great beyond. It's just usually a beluga whale. Have been a lot of them. One of them is a raccoon.
Oh, really?
There was one called the Nantucket Monster or something, and it looked fucking horrifying to look at. It just looked horrifying. But then they did there was a section of photos and they showed like a raccoon in various stages of decomposition, and eventually it matched up perfectly. I was like, well, that's, yeah.
There you go.
So
That's interesting.
we're debunking that right now.
And the photographs are always not clear.
Not quite,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
Not well framed, not close enough. So, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna fake a photo, it's pretty easy. You just set up your little, Loch Ness monster, for instance, on the water. It has no scale because you're shooting it on the water.
Well, I mean, you
True.
can literally
And then
do it.
if you want to blur, you just set it to a slightly higher, shooting speed, and
You
you
don't
just
even need to
move
go
the
that
camera just a little bit.
Yeah, you don't need to go that far. You can literally make a miniature in your house of the water and shoot that, and it would, because you have no perspective on it.
Godzilla!
Yeah. Well, not like that. Yeah, kicking down fucking.
Lego buildings.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Actually,
I gotta call CSIS.
Since
Where's
you
this
brought-
giant
since you brought
Lego
up
town?
Since you brought up Godzilla, the Toho company who originally made the original Godzilla movies, they've actually, as like a stunt for their new Godzilla movie coming out, they made I think it was 20 meter by 20 meter footprint on a beach in Japan that they just made it, and then people found it and they got kind of freaked out by it.
Oh, really? There's
Wow.
idiots everywhere.
Evidently, yeah. It's hard not to be a skeptic nowadays because, I mean, like, Nick's holding an iPhone, I have a Galaxy. Like, these fucking phones are so advanced, like, they're just insane. And if you have any sort of knowledge about any photography,
Oh yeah.
you could dick around endlessly with any picture and turn it into something.
Yeah.
You got to be a skeptic, I think, with the cryptid thing, because
I always go down the rabbit hole. Every now and then I look up squids and like the giant squid, and then there's like the colossal squid, and then there's like the mega colossal squid, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they've only got like a picture of like one big one that washed up on a beach somewhere, and who knows if that was even it's like, but I always thought that was really cool. Like those giant squids that's pretty neat.
those do exist. They found sucker.
Yeah.
Well, if the math works out, because they found sucker marks on whales that correspond to
That's right. Yeah.
to a such and such like 60 meter or so. So there are some big squids.
Yeah.
But I think what happens with them when they die, they probably get eaten by everything before they surface because there's nothing to a squid. It's just all soft tissue, right?
Yeah.
Filament and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No bones or anything.
Sperm whales are mowing down on them before they get a chance to wash up and
Yeah.
turn into a lobster.
Yeah.
I was looking this up and talking about cryptozoology and cryptobotany.
Yeah, and that's the study of cryptids and...
And the thing is, crypt just means, it's just Greek for hidden.
Mm-hmm.
So really all it means is there may or may not be animals in the animal kingdom out there that we have yet to encounter. But then you get other people who want to make it like, oh yeah, like dragons are part of it and unicorns are part of it, right? And then there's like these serious cryptozoologists who are like, what are you talking about? Why are you trying to discredit my science?
Like
You
they're
know?
trying to find
Yeah,
actual
in
living...
quotation marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unicorns, well that's... Narwhal whale is kind of the unicorn of the sea.
But then the same guy that totally puts down
The
the
narwhal.
unicorn will be like, yeah, Sasquatch is out there. So,
There could be a missing link
Sasquatch
in the
is out there.
Himalayas somewhere.
Do you believe in Sasquatch now?
and he drinks
I do,
coke and he
yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Why? Why do you believe in Sasquatch?
Why wouldn't I? I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
there could
fair
be one or two creatures that there's mass amounts of forests out there that we don't trudge through at every inch.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
true.
Tons and tons of cavernous systems and that sort of thing that we have no idea what's in it.
It's just a very tall, hairy Englishman who was left in the woods as a baby and brought up by apes.
You know, well, you know a lot about history and stuff. I remember seeing a program years ago about the royal family, and because of the inbreeding that was going on, they ended up having a kid that was just covered in hair, and they ended up throwing him up in the bell tower and tried to keep it under wraps. But because they were trying to keep the bloodline so pure back in the day, that actually this hairy kid came out and was just covered in hair, covered.
Maybe they let him out in America.
Was his name Austin?
In the Pacific Northwest.
They just sent him on a ship, and the ship
Pacific,
landed
yeah.
in the U.S.
Yeah.
and in the Pacific Northwest.
It's true. There's a lot. I mean, even like the States, like and in Canada, like there's so much. I mean, there could be there must be other animals out there we haven't seen yet, right? I mean, obviously, there's got to be something.
I don't know. You look pretty.
Well, no, because
If you were to go at
because I've
Nick,
gone
disapproving,
down
I
the
think is
rabbit
the
hole with Sasquatch before too, and like you know what happens, you start off in these really cool stories that are like okay maybe, and by the end of it, it's like these are alien visitors that come to Earth in UFOs.
Oh,
Like it ends
jeez.
up there every single time with people in their work. So like I've fuck it.
It goes so off the rails.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that famous one where the thing's kind of looking back. Everyone's seen that big one where he's
Yeah.
taking a stride and sort of looking.
And
That was
there-
totally debunked.
Yes, but there's a lot of like scientific study that's gone into that saying that it's real too. It's weird. Like you can go down another rabbit hole with that one,
Yeah.
and they say like the way that it walks, you can't duplicate the way that it walks in that video, apparently.
Yeah, I saw something about it that just said it was
like
just.
it's too lumbering or something like.
It's the way that the foot and the leg bends. Apparently, it's something to do with the way that the way that it actually walks. Yeah, apparently you can't duplicate it. That's
Well, maybe they got John Cleese and he just did one of his
The
silly
Monty
walks, but
Python
like
silly walks.
toned down a bit.
yeah, yeah,
With prothesis.
Yeah.
yeah,
Prosthesis.
yeah.
Yeah, cryptids is a tougher one. I mean, ghosts. I think like I said, we're gonna get into the experience part later, but I think everyone's had experiences where you feel uncomfortable. But a cryptid, I've never seen any evidence. I don't know. That's a tough one. There's a lot of kooks out there, and this is a good segue actually into mediums. Mediums, yes.
Oh, that's my specialty.
Well, usually, I mean, I can channel anywhere up to between 20 and 30 souls in an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh Long Island Medium. We're all big fans of that show.
Yeah.
No, it's just, a fool and his money are soon parted. And, I think...
Is that why I'm so poor?
I don't want to discredit the entire thing of mediums, but, the cold reading... Everyone who's over the age of 30 has lost somebody, really, in some capacity.
Yeah.
So if you go into a crowded auditorium and say, does anyone this side of the room, have you lost somebody, or does this color mean something to you? Some desperate asshole is going to go, oh my god, yes! And then they're going to have a little rap, go back and forth, and it's a total racket, I think. But, there could be people that have cognitive abilities that maybe we're not privy to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I go as far as say that there's people out there that have really good intuition, and that you can get a read off people by their body language. And you most people have that to a certain degree, right? Like you can sort of tell when someone's, if you're talking to somebody whether they're interested in what you're saying, you can sort of get that. And I think that you sort of, if you just throw enough stuff at them, eventually you'll pick up their interest, and you go, okay, got you there, got you there, got you there.
I guess the question I would be asking you guys is, do you think there's anyone that can literally communicate with the dead, or in any capacity?
I've yet to see proof. Again, this is something else I'd love to see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, do you think there's people out there that...
One of the books I read for the second year course was Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain.
Okay.
And basically it's about this kid that goes up to the hills in Switzerland for tuberculosis to get the cure in the clean, thin air. And he meets all these crazy, whacked out people, and they're like totally into the Ouija board. So there's these nightly sessions, and he gets right into it. And it's like, 1 minute you're reading this book, which is totally naturalistic, and
Yeah.
everything's just normal. And then all of a sudden,
turns the
like,
corner.
There's these Ouija board sessions opening up, and
Is
shit's happening. And that was huge, like back in the late 19th century, like the 1880s.
Ouija boards, you
1890s.
mean? Or?
Yeah.
Huh.
Everyone in Europe was doing it, and it was like a huge,
craze back then.
But that's where you all put your... Isn't that where you all put your hand on the...
Yeah, and it's like a group
the
thing.
little pendant?
Yeah, I was actually, I had that on my notes. I was going to ask you guys if any of you guys have ever had a Ouija board experience.
That ties into the medium thing for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't really. I've
No.
always... It's funny, I'm, slamming all this shit and saying it's fake, but I've always been a little apprehensive of that. I don't know why. It's probably bullshit.
My sister got one, and
I don't know.
I remember my grandma being like, "Don't use that around here," or something like that. It was kind of frowned upon.
Taboo.
To have the Ouija board in the house. And then my sister and I used it once, and we're like, "Well, this is not much. This is not as fun as Hungry Hungry Hippos, so let's do that instead."
I think maybe the reason you're a bit apprehensive, Arlen, is because it's been ingrained through popular culture and horror movies that Ouija boards, it opens a doorway or a pathway to the other side.
Pandora's box.
And so you're kind of like, well, do I really want to mess with that?
Yeah.
Do I want to be the person that brings a ghost into my house, or a demon?
That's
or an
very very
Not
revealing.
really.
That's very revealing that on some level I suppose I do believe in all this stuff because I do have some religious background. I was used to go to church as a kid and pioneers and started watching horror movies on a contrasting side of that scale. I started watching horror movies way too young and.
Well, that's just it.
Yeah.
If you didn't believe in it, then you'd be like, yeah, let's have a Ouija session, and you would.
If something
did
happen,
and then something did happen.
God forbid something happens, and I'd
Yeah.
be sitting in a puddle
That
of
would
piss. So
freak you the fuck
forget
out.
it.
Yeah.
I just got to go back to my original comment, though, like with Ouija boards. Like, if there's some ghost or entity or ancestor who's, like, loving you and watching over you and wanting to get in touch and, like, directly communicate with you,
Why would you need to pull?
just do it. Don't why do we need the hardware?
Yeah.
Why do we need
I
the
think
ritual?
The argument they make is that if you're not, you need to be looking for it, right? Like you have to be looking for it.
There has to be a middleman.
Seek and you shall find.
You can't communicate with them.
That's the argument that the paranormal people make, is that if you're not looking for it, you won't see it. So that's like a little device that you can use to.
Yeah.
Same thing with, I don't know, what else do you use?
Well, that's sort of the
crystal balls and shit.
That's
like
the
that.
whole point with all this stuff. Like we said, if you go into a house and somebody says this house might be haunted, then you'll be on edge. You'll be looking around.
Oh, totally.
You'll be listening,
Absolutely.
perking your ears up.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just go to a house and have no idea of anything, and then something fucked up happens, maybe it's a bit more valid. But you do. And people. I know hyper spiritual people that
Oh yeah.
get your energy, and and
Yeah.
I can't discredit that, but I think if you're really looking for something, you're going to find it for sure. But Alec, you'd said something about that book that they were at a high elevation in Switzerland. Do you think that had something to do with the? Because you said this group of people was all.
I think obviously
that
on a
contributes?
symbolic level, the sort of the isolation and the sort of the ethereal levels of consciousness.
Just lacking a little bit of oxygen and starting to get a bit loopy.
He never goes into the science of it. No.
Like how far up were they? I wonder.
Way up in the Alps. So like the whole idea, like before they knew that TB was like bacterial.
Yeah.
The way they would cure it is just by going to like really thin, cold, dry air.
Yeah.
And they would wrap up in like these big furs and sit in the deck and just breathe the cold air.
They just put them all outside. Like,
Yeah.
Just rows of beds outside.
They called it the cure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it actually worked for most people. Like, but it took a shitload of time. You had to stay there, like live there for months.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a good setting for a book.
But those places are haunted as fuck.
Okay, so mediums, I guess none of us are really, no one's really taking a solid stance either way, but I guess it's hard to, because we all want to sort of maintain open-minded.
I think what pisses me off, I just don't like the people, like the ones that work with police that get it wrong.
Oh,
that really
that does
fucking bugs
happen.
me.
Psychic.
Who was that
Yeah,
main
the
one
psychics.
there?
Yeah, like that's like you have the family there and like the cops and you
You're just stringing them
you're
along.
stringing them
with
along.
false-
And,
yeah,
and
that's
and you,
horrific.
and you know that you're bullshit, or maybe you believe that you can actually do this, but I don't know, man. That's shitty.
I think that there's, maybe like a 0.1% out of like all the mediums out there. I think 0.1% really do have something, whether they can commune with the dead or anything like that. I really do think that they do have
Possess some sort of...
like maybe their
cognitive
brain
ability.
can
Yeah.
use that 11 or 12% to push it to something else.
Well, if you go back to energy and how everything's energy, I mean, if there are dead people around, how long do they stay around? Because if you look at believing in past lives, that would say, so-and-so passes and then they go into a newborn baby. Like, they're not hanging around.
Well, they stay around until their business is finished.
Well, that's the theory. That's the theory.
So, if they never,
Yeah,
it's finished, then...
I've heard that if you want to hear some really good ghost stories and like stuff like that, you should talk to doctors and nurses. Apparently, in hospitals.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Always have good stories.
That's very true.
People passing. I mean, you're around death all the time, and
People that work in nursing homes and stuff.
yeah, that too, maybe. Yeah.
Well, I think that that covers the three topics I wanted to talk about. Now, what I want to talk about is our personal experience with either ghost cryptids or mediums. I think we're just going to tell a few stories about maybe strange ghost encounters. I don't think anyone has any medium stories or anything. But Nick, you'd said that you've had uncomfortable experiences.
Yeah, I remember specifically there was one time where I'm just alone in my apartment. I had just moved out on my own, and I just remember feeling like I wasn't alone, and I knew that I was in a basement suite, and the owners of the house were out for the weekend.
Yeah.
So I knew that no one was there, and I just had this uneasy feeling about the whole thing, and I just had to get out of there. Like, I just left, and I just went for a long drive just to kind of, get that feeling out, and went back, and it was fine. So
I think that's a pretty common feeling.
Was that just an anxiety attack, maybe because you were living on your own for the first time and were actually
It might
alone in a
have been,
big
yeah.
house?
It might have been.
That could have been.
Did it feel like almost specifically like someone was looking at you from behind?
I almost felt like someone
Alex is standing behind Nick right now.
Breathing down his neck.
Like if I put my hand over your shoulder, eventually you'll feel the heat from my hand, and it was that sort of feeling.
Or almost like a radar.
Felt like there was something there.
Fuck that.
And I was just like, nope, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Touch me.
That to me seems like almost common by relatively common.
Yeah.
And believable.
I think we've all felt that sort of sense of...
It's a sense of something else that's like very intangible.
Yeah. Just like a wrongness about the room or the state you're in. So I've had it before too, where you're just sitting there and you're just like, I need to get the fuck out of here right now. Like something,
I used to live in a farmhouse, and I mean, that in itself is kind of fucking creepy. A farmhouse by yourself in the Ottawa Valley, so I mean, your imagination could run wild, but You're a pretty grounded guy, and you said even you had
not just me. There's other people that stayed there that had experiences too. Like, the one for me that was the weirdest was I remember coming home one night and putting on a CD and just cranking in my stereo, and it was just booming. I went to go do the dishes. I started doing the dishes, the music's blaring, and suddenly I heard like bang, 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 like footsteps behind me, and I didn't even think about. It didn't really scare me or anything like that because at that point I was living alone for the first time, but I always had roommates, so that sound to me meant okay, turn the music down. So I just went and turned the music down, went back to doing the dishes, and it took me a minute when I was like, wait a minute,
there's nobody here.
There's nobody fucking here. Why did I turn the music down?
Man.
So I wasn't scared until afterwards, and then I was like, what's just happened?
That's creepy.
That's what it sounded like. It sounded like somebody
really
pounding
creepy.
on the wall saying turn the music down. That's instantly what I did. I didn't even think about
Just
it.
from years of conditioning to that same
exactly.
situation where
Yeah.
you live in an apartment or whatever, have roommates.
So and
Jesus.
like I've had my other friends that stayed there. I remember one time me and my buddy were playing video games downstairs, and he went to bed early, but I stayed up. And he like a week later he came back over and said, yeah, that night he's like, you went to the bathroom like 4 or 5 times, and like you have to go all the way upstairs to go to the bathroom. And I was like, no. I was drinking on my own and pissing off the balcony downstairs all night long.
Nice.
And he was like,
all been there.
He's like, yeah, no, you were up and downstairs all night long. I was like, no, man, not once. I did not go upstairs once that night. So he was hearing something going up and down the stairs to the bathroom and back down again in this house.
And subsequently, he never stayed there again.
Oh, that's
later, pal.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's true. He was like, well, thanks for the visit, but I gotta go now.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
What about you, Al? You have any? You were just in Scotland. We said we weren't going to bring it up, but
Well, I got nothing from there, but actually I have one that's connected to my mom's past. Like when I was in London, I went to visit the neighborhood where she grew up, just to take a bunch of pictures and let her stroll down memory lane.
of course.
So, you know, when I got back and we were showing these photographs, it was bringing back all these memories for her. And she sat back and told us this totally straight up, vivid story of a memory of a time in World War II. She had been sent to Devon. She had been evacuated, and she had, and she had just got back. So the bombing and the sort of the doodlebugs
Like the
were
Blitz?
still happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was still some bombing happening, and she lived very close to Clapham Junction, which is the biggest, like, highest volume train station junction in London. Certainly at that time, and I think today still. Like, I was there, it's big. But so one day she's walking down the street and she's going to go to the movies.
Yeah.
She's going to go to the theater. And at that time you had to tell your parents, okay, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, this is how long I'm going to be, and this is when I'll be back.
Stiff upper lip and all that.
Just
And
in
because
case,
of the time.
in case there's a bombing.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't want people
Yeah,
to
yeah,
worry.
yeah.
So she said, I'm going to the so-and-so theater to watch this movie, and this is the time it's playing, and this is when I'll be back. She gets down to the junction, like the corner, and she's ready to go up to the theater and cross the street. And she literally felt something empirically, physically stop her from crossing the street.
Huh.
She couldn't cross the street.
How old is your mom when this happened?
She was a kid.
A kid, yeah.
This was like so she would have been about 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mid 40s, probably.
It was 41,
42.
late 41.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's also another common story that a lot of people have as kids. They remember a time when they went to go do something. I remember hearing a story about a kid that, like, he was gonna stick his he was in his like dad's truck all alone and was just fiddling around with like the gear shift, and he said he heard a voice saying, no, don't do that because it'll go out of gear and go down the hill, right?
An actual voice.
Yeah, he had,
Yeah.
heard an actual voice saying no, like really commanding like that. And apparently that's something that kids report hearing. When they're
So
on-
the
when
way
they're on their own.
the way she recalls it is not a voice, but it's just a simple, like,
An actual
losing
physical force.
control of your muscles almost
Oh, okay.
Wow.
to do that one thing. But then she thought, okay, well, and then it just came into her mind, well, what about the Imperial, which was the other theater just up the street? And she went up the street and went to a movie and watched a movie at the Imperial. While she was there, the other theater got a direct hit.
Oh my god.
Hundreds were killed. Okay, now,
Whoa.
so she's completely oblivious to this. She doesn't know what's happened. You hear bumps and booms of bombs dropping all the
Yeah.
time,
There's
right?
no Facebook
It's hard to
or
imagine
any
that, but
shit
that's
like
what
that.
it was.
Yeah.
So she comes out and she meets her friend from up the street and says, "Oh, let's go play ball for a while." So instead of going home when she should have been, she goes and plays ball, and her family's just
So
like
we're freaking the fuck out,
freaking
obviously.
out. Her dad
Yeah.
went down to the theater and tried to get in and almost got in a fight with the guy who was like putting up the barrier to keep people out.
Yeah.
It's like, my daughter's in there.
Oh my good lord.
He gave up and came home. You know, like an hour later, my mom strolls into the house and they look at her like literally like she's a ghost.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're like angry as hell with her, like, you know, like,
Well, I mean, what
like,
else?
where were you?
No
what else would
kidding.
you think? I mean,
Yeah.
your daughter told you that you were going to this specific
Exactly.
theater at this specific time,
gets turned
and it
around.
gets bombed.
Yeah.
So now the way she talks about it is that she, you know, and you can argue that this is just her imaginatively layering this on top of the experience, but she says it was her granny stopping her, wouldn't let her go.
Huh.
Wow.
That's not interesting.
That's interesting that it was a physical force, because usually
Yeah.
for ghost stuff it's auditory but physical, like that's, and in a situation like that too, such a charged time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If her granny hadn't stopped her, you wouldn't be here today on this
I wouldn't be
podcast. So that's pretty
To
crazy.
do this, that's why that happened.
Yeah,
So
it was
you-
all
so you could be here
for
today and
this
do
moment.
podcast.
One more ghost story here, and it'll be mine, which you guys have heard because I've told you all about it. But the loving audience hasn't heard it, and it.
The loving audience that is Nick.
Loving audience that is scared right now. Nick's our big fan. No, this is a good one because it actually involves another really close friend of mine who you guys know, Riley, and he was house sitting one time by Parklands, which is by the military hospital off Colville down there, like past the old base entrance. And I'm looking at Al because I think he would probably know where this
I
is.
know the place, yeah.
And it was just a little nondescript 2-floor 50s type house, and the advantage to going there is we could play music. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm just house sitting, like come jam." And I didn't drive at the time, so I walked the 20 minutes because I lived just in Esquimalt as well. And went over there and we were jamming, and it was just so uncomfortable. We both stopped and we're like, let's go back upstairs. Like I just felt so watched.
Yeah.
And uncomfortable, and it was so strange. So we go upstairs, and we go out for a smoke, and it was really, there was a lot of noise outside. It was probably 10 at night. It wasn't super late, but it was pitch black, and there was frogs and cicadas and all other kinds of shit going on. And we were smoking, and then all of a sudden, everything stopped, and we both got cold. Like I know it sounds hacky and cliche, but we both got cold. The noise stopped, and we just looked at each other like, what the fuck is going on in this house? So anyway, we continue to hang out, and I'm like, what's up with this place, man? He's like, I didn't want to say anything, but he's like, I don't like it here. And his girlfriend at the time didn't like it there. She didn't want to stay there. She stayed there once, and he said that they woke up to a remote that hit the wall and stuff. I don't know if I believe that. She was kind of a nutcase, but in that house, maybe that did happen, because that fucking house was very strange. And to cap it all off, when I finally went home, I remember feeling like a weight was being lifted. Like I walked back home, and I got about half a block, and I was just like, oh, like I felt relief from leaving this place. It was I've never experienced anything like it since or before, and we still joke about it to this day. I'm like, remember that house? He's like, fuck, I know.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe we should go knock on the door and ask them if they've had any experiences, because this was pretty dramatic. We didn't see any ghosts, we didn't hear anything, but it was just fucking wrong to be there. I didn't like being there.
That's like,
It was awful.
isn't it funny how it's like a common thing with most people where you ask somebody if they believe in ghosts and they'll be like, no. But there was this one time when this sort of thing happened.
This
to
horrific
me.
thing that was
Yeah,
bizarre.
like, even
and-
people that don't believe in it usually have a story, you know, like, or something.
And they're in denial about it.
Or, yeah.
Or just write it off.
Or just write it off, yeah.
But it was good that he didn't preface up me going there by saying, "Oh, it's a weird house, man," because then that's
And
why
you-
I give that a bit of weight. Because I'm like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was just excited to have a house to ourselves. Me and
Yeah.
my buddy, we're like 20 years old. Fuck yeah, play music, whatever.
But it turns out you didn't
But
have
it
to
was
yourself.
not fun, and I didn't like being there. And yeah, so
It's interesting. There's a graveyard right there, right?
yeah, it's the old
Just up the
military.
street.
Well, there's a lot, and that's a lot of that is native land too.
Yes.
I heard.
The house is
up
built on
there.
top of a graveyard. There's like the house and like half a tombstone next to the house.
We're getting pretty hackneyed and cliched here, but I mean,
Do you
yeah.
notice that shit like this never happens, or you never hear about this happening in like a brand new neighborhood? where a house.
Oh, I've worked in hundreds of houses.
It's always like
and never
James
experienced
Bay
anything
or
like that.
Esquimalt or the
Oak
original
Bay
parts.
settlements.
Yeah, some of the old heritage homes in Oak Bay I've heard. Just anyway. So I guess we sort of believe in ghosts. The cryptids sing "We're on the fence" and mediums.
Well,
I
before
think that about sums that up.
Before we go on, has anyone had kind of a bad feeling after they see even a horror movie?
Oh, I
like
freaked
something
myself
that,
out.
like not
Yeah,
like a slasher flick, but like something with spiritual stuff.
Absolutely. Every night.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
I work at night on my own. I drive around and I deliver papers, and I had just seen The Conjuring 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And I felt like every once in a while I still feel it now. Like there's someone in my back seat, and
Well,
it is incredibly fucking creepy.
Yeah.
That's your.
So I just click on the light, and I'm like, oh, no one's
That's
there.
your
That's
imagination
good.
just
But yeah,
pulling you into that.
That's me. I'm tired and
Starting to think about.
overthink it. Really.
Did we watch Sinister together? Was that you and
Yeah.
me? And then we were
And then
driving.
we were driving home.
And a fucking acorn. It was pissing rain. And an acorn smacks into my roof, and we're all like, ah!
Yeah.
We all
Yeah,
made
we
an
all
audible
jumped.
jump. I was just dropping these guys off. We'd all seen Sinister, which was pretty decent. But
man.
yeah, remember that? And we were all
Yeah.
just keyed up and on edge, and it was pissing rain, and then it was just like dunk.
Yeah.
And we all like did one of these, like a big twitch. A couple of us made noises. I might have made a noise. I don't know.
You can totally put yourself in that frame of mind. Totally, yeah.
You
Yeah.
can.
I watch a lot of horror movies at night just because that's just like my wife doesn't like watching horror movies, so I'll watch them on my own. And then like after that, I gotta buffer it with something. Like I usually watch a comedy special right after that because if I just do that and go to bed, I'm like
Have a good palate cleanser before you go to
like
bed.
covers up to my mouth, you know.
Yeah.
There's something in the
Well,
room.
I think it was right after I'd seen The Conjuring 2. I was like, oh well, James Wan, who was the director of it, had made the first two Insidious movies. So I was like, well, I'll watch those.
I'll watch those now.
I'll watch those in one night. So I watched them.
Those
and
are
then
creepy, too.
I went out
Yeah.
and drove around, and I was like, Jesus, why did I do that? This is even worse now.
Yeah.
Nick's a little masochistic apparently.
Yeah.
What's with that time in the morning too? Like we talked about that before. Like around between like
Three in
one
the
and 3
morning.
o'clock in the morning. For some reason, you're always amped
It's
up
the
and
witching.
freaked
That's
out.
the witching
there's a
aspect.
biological explanation for that though, and that's well, at least for men, that's when your hormone levels are highest. Because you ever wake up and just have a raging boner at like 3,
Well,
or I do anyway. That's the time. But that's when your sexual hormones are the highest.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna have a freaky dream, whether it be sexual or terror,
yeah.
because that's sexuality and terror run very much that same anxiety and that same endocrine response. It's the same thing if you're aroused or if you're terrified. It's that same system that's spiking you and getting the blood flowing. And that's between 2:30 and 3 is when male hormones peak. So when you're having a nightmare, quite often you look and it's 2:30 or 3, ooh, but it's just your body. It's not.
So what you're saying is maybe I don't like sex. I just
Get up,
I
rub
just
one
like
out,
being
and go back
terrified
to
all the
bed.
time?
Yeah, it's perfect. You're just like being terrified and do it.
It's a thrill. You know what? Maybe you're some sort of a thrill seeker. You don't like to jump off cliffs. You don't like to do anything like that. But maybe you like to scare the piss out of
I
yourselves.
do like to jump off cliffs.
The horror movies thing. We're doing a horror movie podcast as well. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not getting into that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's moving on here. I think we covered all that stuff. That was pretty good. The second half of this, I wanted to talk about UFOs, abductions, sightings, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, we touched on this briefly in the space one, I think.
yeah, we probably did.
I think.
There was a brief touching.
Yeah, brief touching. There was a brief touching.
He touched
That sounds so good.
Felt like something was being inserted somewhere where I didn't want it to be.
There was a brief probing.
But it's another one too where he was like, you know, are people just crackers that say they've seen a UFO or like what gives? There's got to be something out there, and I don't want to get into like existential stuff or anything really big.
I thought I saw
but-
one time when I was a kid. I was walking around a place called Beckwith Park. And
I know where
there's
Beckwith Park is.
And there's a path
Yep.
that goes around the pond there. And I was, I think I was 12 or so. And I just kind of sat down. I was just by myself, and I was just looking up at the sky, and I saw this thing, and it just kind of, and I noticed that it was almost like it was vibrating, like a very slow, just kind of movement back and forth, and then it just left very, very quickly, faster
Wow.
than I would
Faster-
imagine
faster
anything
than
could
any
move.
Up in an
Aircraft.
upward direction.
It was like up and to the, so yeah, I guess maybe following the Earth's curvature or something like that, but it was really odd.
That's hard to explain.
It is hard to explain.
Especially that's the ones that really get me on TV shows. Is like when there's acceleration involved, which is completely beyond,
out of our.
completely and obviously beyond anything we have any chance of.
Yeah.
You see aircraft; they look like they're barely moving.
Yeah,
Like
and it wasn't like it was a perspective thing, you know, where if it's a helicopter or something like that, where it's coming towards you, and then as it comes towards you, it speeds up. It was literally standing still in the same spot, and then it just left.
Zipped away.
Just whoop.
Nick neglects to mention that he had just ingested a 32-ounce Coca-Cola Slurpee. He was all amped up. No, I'm kidding, but that's I don't know if any of us like. So you've got that experience. Have you, Al, seen anything? What do you think? Like, that's the whole point of the UFO thing. I wondered, like, do you believe in them? Like, do you think that it's just some, you know?
I can't get past my logical mind, which tells me that any kind of, I think it may have been you who suggested this before too, Ed, which is that any kind of technologically advanced civilization which is able to travel
Mastered interstellar
the distances
travel.
we're talking about.
Oh, ridiculous.
A, if they wanted us to know about them, they would make themselves shown.
Yeah.
B, if they didn't want us to know about them, they would make damn good and sure
That we didn't.
That we didn't see them
that
at
they
all.
weren't seen.
So
Yeah.
you don't think that the
A
government's in
or
on some
B,
conspiracy
end of
thing?
story. That's it. Nothing
Yes.
else. There's no room for accidents.
So you're not buying it then. So you're saying
Well,
it's all.
I mean, that's my logical brain, which kind of like is the most forceful part that, you know, when we deal with this subject. But obviously, again, there's like that other side of me that wants to.
So what you're saying is you don't believe that the Queen is a reptile.
What part of you is the most forceful part during probings? I missed that. Sorry.
It's the part where you're paralyzed, right?
The part where you're biting the pillow and
I'm gonna take the pillow.
The fifth pillow?
no, but this whole thing. It's like there are people that believe that like the government is ran by fucking extraterrestrials, and we're only mining diamonds and resources for them, and we're all under very strict control by aliens. I mean,
I know.
it really goes that way. I mean, we're all smirking.
Well, you
'cause
can't
it's,
believe that Will Smith is actually a human being. Can
Welcome to Earth.
I mean, come on, Michael Jackson, a real human?
Yeah, I don't. Alex just stole all my thunder. He just took everything I always say.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, I at least I credited you,
You
know,
did.
because I'm sure I heard that from you. And,
Yeah.
and when I heard it, it made perfect
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah. It's. Yeah. I'd love to see it again. I'd love to see it with you guys in the backyard some night and we see something all together.
Big disc.
Yeah.
Yep, that'd be great. But yeah, the same.
I always thought fire
But
in
then
the
he-
sky was fucking horrifying.
Yeah,
and that's
well, that is
like,
horrifying.
that's-
and
It is
they're-
horrifying.
if you study that case, which I have, I don't know. I don't know if they're making that up, or I don't even know what advantage they would. It just that one
why
got to
would
me.
you-
That one got to me. Why would you go to all that length?
Exactly.
And they were blue collar people. Like it just, I don't know.
Money. You know the,
Like they
you know
wouldn't
sad
have the
thing is-
resources to
Money.
do that.
The sad thing
Ed
about
just
all
said
this
it.
stuff, all this ghost story, UFO shit, is there's always somebody out there to make a buck.
Make it a
Because you
buck.
can make a buck.
You can get even not 15 minutes of fame, but you can get your
Yeah,
2
but Nick,
minutes.
if you wrote a book about UFOs and you came out across some new evidence, it would sell. There's a whole community out there of like millions of people that would buy that book, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just
Roswell-
lapping it up.
Roswell, New
Yeah.
Mexico, that's their
You just
entire
have to, a
economy.
lot of the stuff you have to follow the money trail, and that's what's sad about it for me. Is because like I'd rather, you know. Yeah, it always ends up like that. These famous ghost stories, like what's the
Amityville.
Amityville Horror, money.
Yeah, what The
Absolutely
Conjuring is
money
based
driven,
on
that
there,
whole
and
thing.
they've now
Yeah.
there's someone in England that they're doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Let's put ourselves into
the almighty
minds
dollar.
of the extraterrestrials, and let's just ask this: like, if we are doing this, and there's
Wait,
like
let me get
these-
out the Ouija board.
and people are actually seeing this shit, like, why are we doing it? Why are they doing it?
Why are they coming here?
Why are they making them? Why are they
It seems like they're
allowing
just-
themselves
it
to be
seems
seen
like they're just
fleetingly? Right?
It seems like they're just jerks.
Yeah, like psych.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm just here to fuck with us. Oh no.
Yeah.
But Alex, he sort of touched on something that I've always thought of too, and it's like if they were that far advanced to actually master interstellar travel, what the fuck would they want to do with us? Like by comparison, we'd just be like little paramecia in a jar, you know. Like we can
Well-
barely even get to Mars. You know?
Yeah.
Well, people have ant farms in their house. Like, why would people do that other than
Yeah.
to study them?
And it comes around to maybe we were seeded by aliens, because that's
that where you're
a
going?
theory. No,
That's
that's
not where I was going.
Okay.
Was that where I was going?
that's where it sounded like you were going.
When you say
No,
when
he's a
you
tad
say
psychic.
seated,
I mean, yeah, I don't know if you know this, but I talk to dead people. No, I was just reading your thoughts there because I'm a medium as well.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I wouldn't say we were seeded by aliens. You know, it's not Prometheus.
You said an ant farm, though. An ant farm is something that you
well,
have
I just mean
control
like
over.
for studying purposes. Like, you know, they come across our planet, and they're like, oh, there's this species that's actually developing a lot faster than everything else on that planet.
That makes
Let's
total
see where it
sense.
goes.
So you think
That
we're
makes total sense.
you think we're
It
like a
does.
biology project for extraterrestrials, or not a project, but a biology study?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
huh.
It could be.
It'd be funny if it was that benign, because we always try and like project so much evil onto it, like they're gonna come take us over and this and that, or they're the Anunnaki. If you guys heard about that whole racket,
Yeah, I'm brave. Yeah, I sort of remember that. What
The-
was- oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
basic outline is that aliens planted us here to harvest like diamonds and resources for them, and there's a group of people that really believe that, that's a bit zany to me, but it's a real thing for some
But I
people.
mean, even as far as the whole seeding humanity thing, I mean, you have to kind of go back and
Dr. Ridley saw it.
He knows all about it. Ridley Scott, if you're listening, please come on our show. But I mean, if you think about as life started on Earth, it started as a single cell microorganism. But where did that microorganism come from?
God,
And
obviously.
people think that it came from space. That's the most logical place.
It's like a carrot seed.
Oh, from like an asteroid
From
or
an
something.
asteroid,
Yeah.
and it just deposited it into the ocean,
Yeah.
and
And
life developed from there.
From millions and millions of years and
Billions of years.
Okay, but the problem with that
billions
theory is that it just sort of delays the inevitable, which you have to ask, which is how did that seed get on that asteroid? And where did that come from, right? At a certain point, you have to take it all the way back and say there's a personality involved, right?
Well, but could it not be from, say, a planet that has gone or a sun that's gone supernova, has
Yeah.
exploded the planets in the system, and that the debris has been cast out into space, and randomly our planet was hit with it.
Life can find a way to live in the most harshest of terrains, like underwater volcanoes. There's bacteria that survive in thousands of degrees heat.
Well, there's that one
like-
microorganism that they can't figure out how to really kill.
Is
because
that
it can-
little alien-looking
yeah,
one?
it can survive in lava.
It can
and-
survive
and
in lava,
ultra
yeah.
deep- ultra.
What's the one they had
It's
in
got
the
a
space
name.
station too? There was like
Got
a
a
little.
name.
There was like a little bear. What are they called?
That's the same thing we're
Yeah.
talking about,
What are
yeah.
they called? Like a micro
It's
bear.
like indestructible.
Something like that. Yeah, they had it in the vacuum for like days and days, and
It somehow
just
keeps
comes back.
going.
Yeah.
And it just hibernates essentially when it's in those harsh environments. It just like well, whatever.
It looks like something out of StarCraft.
Yeah.
Like it does. Like it's fucking ridiculous, but the thing can survive in any
Cockroaches.
condition. Any
Cockroaches
condition.
are like that too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you're going to say that and say it came from outer space, like, why not just say, well, the same thing could have just happened here? We could have just had something from nothing here. We just had the right circumstances.
Maybe we are the start of it. Wouldn't that be a weird thing to think of? As if like we were alone here, and when our planet blows up, it'll shoot off and see the rest of the universe. That could well be the case.
We
right?
are
I mean,
the
that's
We
a
are the
terrifying
Genesis.
thought to think.
Is it
that,
ever
that
the
we
universe?
are the only
That's-
planet that has?
You're getting into like
living
Fermi's
organisms.
paradox.
Yeah.
We're
Like that-
basically the
Well,
equivalent
yeah.
of one big sperm. That's what this whole planet is.
I don't know what just
So
happened,
we're
but Al just said sperm.
So
Big
the
sperm.
planet is the egg, and we're the one
The
sperm
universe
that got through
The universe is the
atmosphere.
vagina.
This is quick.
Well,
As the podcast de-evolves into hilarity.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I knew as soon as I brought up UFOs, this would happen.
Oh, no,
me
every
and
time.
me and Ed have talked
Every
at
time.
length about Fermi's paradox and why we haven't seen anything beyond ourselves. But then the other half of that is, well, maybe we have, and they're hiding it from us, man. The government's hiding it from us, and I don't believe that. But perhaps whoever has seen us wants to remain hidden. I mean,
maybe,
there's,
yeah.
it would be like us, or you could look at it that the fucking universe is so massive. It'd be like, the Inuit. Like the Inuit were living for years and years and years without people seeing them because they were just so far removed. If you think of like the Earth,
Well, so are the Native Americans.
bigger scale,
Until
maybe
the
we just
British
haven't been
came
found yet.
Exactly.
Maybe we haven't been found, and
I think
obviously we
what's-
don't have much ability to go too far beyond,
I mean, that's
the moon.
possible, but it seems very unlikely. What's more likely is that we're actually not equipped with the biological equipment to see what is actually all around us.
That could
all
be
the time.
true. Yeah.
Going back to the
And
whole
that fits
spectrum.
in very
Yeah.
tightly with all the religions.
We do have the limited
Every
bandwidth.
one of the religions
yeah,
says that.
And that's
It's all there all the time. We just can't
we just
see
can't
it.
see it.
That's another thing.
That's
that
why they talk
people-
about dimensions
A
and
lot of the
stuff.
new paranormal research that you read lumps all that stuff together, ghosts, UFOs, into like this thing they call interdimensional beings.
Yes.
So everything gets put together under that rainbow spectrum, and they go, okay, this is what it is because we just we don't have the faculties to see what
We don't have
is
the
actually
bandwidth.
happening within our
Yeah.
universe. And like I'm probably more prone to believe that than I am dead people.
So maybe it's like Interstellar, where we've constructed the fifth dimension.
It's not like Interstellar.
You just have to watch.
We're not
bookcase
talking about
for messages
Interstellar.
from your dad. From your little dad in the bookcase.
Well, even the scene where like
Not
they're-
talking about Interstellar.
I'm just gonna put this out there. There's the scene where Anne Hathaway, they're in the black hole.
Oh, she's so bad
and
in
Anne
that
Hathaway
movie. She's
reaches
so
out and
bad
touches
in that
something, and all you
movie.
see is
She's
like
hot.
this weird
She's hot.
deformation
But she has short hair
of
in
her
that movie.
hand.
Yeah.
And
Still hot.
you're like, what the
Ugh.
hell was that? And then later on in the movie, you find out it's actually Matthew McConaughey, and he's touching her hand.
Right.
Yeah, I teared up a bit too. Let's move on. That movie pissed me off because it had so much potential to be one of the best films of all time, and it just shit the bed on every fucking occasion. Maybe not every occasion. Some of it worked. It was really good, and then it was really not
Some
good in other
stories are
ways.
not
It
meant
was
for-
frustrating.
they're
It was a
not meant for the
frustrating
screen.
watch.
Some stories are just not meant for the screen.
Maybe you just didn't get it.
You know what? I wanted to say.
Oh,
I wanted to say this before we get out of here. There's like a common experience among abductees of seeing owls.
oh
And
god.
like, this is really creepy. I thought this was really creepy. Like a lot of people will report seeing an owl outside their window, even though there's no ledge for an owl to perch on. And like they figure it's aliens being like, well, this is the closest thing you'll see on Earth to what I am, so you're going to see an owl. It's a really creepy.
If Freya was in here right now, she'd be pissing her pants.
There was a story of this girl that was like walking down the road and she saw an alien. Like she saw literally a gray humanoid alien.
the big head and the big eyes and the
Yeah,
little body.
and like psychically it turned to her and said like, oh my god, like the alien, she could feel the alien freaking out in her mind. And then
That had
the
been
alien was
seen?
like, I'm an owl, I'm an owl, I'm an owl. And the alien turned into an owl.
Oh my god, that is crazy.
Isn't that fucked up?
That is
I read
creepy.
that story and I was like, oh my god, I don't want to see an owl ever again.
Well, apparently they just use psionic sort of communication, so they'll put their hand on you and communicate things, or they'll just and you got to think anything that is that advanced probably would have a far more developed brain. I mean, a shark can smell blood for 2 miles in the water.
Why can't we? We have
Well,
a brain.
I can barely smell anything ever.
I can smell a shark from here.
But that's true. Biologically, there is senses
Yeah,
that can be
yeah.
tuned up to the max, and we don't have any idea. And that's like what you guys are talking about, like that spectrum of vision, the
Yeah.
colors we can see, the things we can hear. We're very limited. We have a very small frequency band in which we operate, and it's probably endless.
Yeah.
We're just too unevolved. It's a creepy story, though.
Is it ever creepy?
That's
Yeah.
fucking creepy. I'm an owl. I'm
Have
an
you
owl.
ever-
I'm an
Oh
owl.
no, isn't that fucked up?
Have you ever locked
Give me the
eyes
boys.
with an owl?
No, I never will either.
Like they are one of the animals that if you actually get a chance to glance and look at their eyes, they're
Actually,
like-
I know I have.
it's a total
Mind fuck?
No, it's like
It is.
it's like being looked at someone with such a sense of superiority, like they're just looking down on you.
They are.
When I was living in Ottawa.
They're stealthily silent. You don't even
Yes.
hear them.
Yeah.
You can see them swoop down, grab something, and you don't even
Yeah.
not a sound, not a sound.
Which
They
is
don't
a
make
good
any sound.
explanation for why these stories develop,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like
Yeah.
Oh, so I think Al's sort of saying that.
here's the naturalistic rebuttal.
Well, I mean, I just came back from Japan a few months ago, and when I was in Tokyo, I went to an owl petting place. Like you pay $10 essentially, and they have owls there that you can pet and hold, and
Pretty cheap fucking owls, that place. $10.
yeah, and you have like an hour, like
Hey, you want a
it's like
date?
a schedule, right? So you have like, you pay $10, you have like an hour to like hold these owls and pet
An
them.
hour?
An
God,
hour.
That's cool.
Okay, so you hold the thing for 30 seconds, and what do you do with the other 59 and a half
It-
minutes?
I mean, I didn't think I would want to be in there that long, but when I was in there and I was holding it, it was incredible. It felt like
Was it
felt
telling you the
really-
secrets of the
It
universe?
might have been.
Your body's literally riddled
Maybe I
with
just can't pick it
microchips
up.
right now.
That was me trying to wake up, and then I left. That's why they only schedule it for an hour, because in an hour and 10 minutes, your body wakes up from the Matrix.
That's all you need.
So I guess since we're going into some existential stuff, I guess we can also talk about how there's an 18% chance that this is just all a big simulation. Panic.
18%. That's.
I don't know how they quantified it into
Oh my
18%,
God, are you
but they
serious?
did. They did. I
freaking
read an
out.
article, 18%.
I swear to God, if you listen to this podcast, I think the percentage changes every time.
Oh, it probably does.
I think we just make
We've
it
definitely brought this up.
Yeah.
I do. That number is burned in my head, though.
Yeah.
18%.
This
That's
I heard evidence
there's
too.
almost
They were
a 1 in 5 chance it's a simulation. That's a very high probability.
Well,
They were saying that if it wasn't, that would bode poorly for our future, because if we didn't get to a point where we could make a simulation of this magnitude, that means that humanity will be gone.
if we can't make our own
If we can't make this kind of if what we're living right now isn't a simulation, that's actually bad, because that means that humanity just collapsed.
But why, as humanity, would we recreate a simulation?
Just to see how their ancestors started, or to how to have a habitat, a
what if
planet.
the whole
to see exactly
what if the whole
how
thing-
the
This could just be like
fossils destroyed
this
our
could just be a
planet.
big history lesson in like
Yeah.
some future history class.
And they're just watching us.
But the article I read
It's
sort
like
of
a bored classroom of aliens watching us right now.
Oh,
the article I
Jesus.
read sort
See,
of
that creeps
framed
me out.
it framed it as if this isn't a simulation, we're fucked.
Just like,
We're fucked.
What that makes me think is that like we have to come up with our own simulation
Oh, I hate this.
to
Can we
download
do
our
Venus
culture
this
into,
week?
and then it starts over again from there. Isn't that sort of a horror movie? Isn't there a horror
Oh
movie?
yeah,
in
there's
there?
a horror movie in this. There's a screenplay in this podcast for sure.
Yeah.
But you
That might be stretching.
you use the word simulation, but why can't we?
Why can't
and
you
what
use the
we
word
are, all of this,
stimulation?
like, meat and flesh and reality.
We already
what
went
we
over
call-
that with probing.
Why can't that be a simulation? Like just.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the
For us, it's like it's all we have, so we call it reality.
Right.
But that's ridiculous.
yeah, you don't know what reality is.
From a
at all.
wider sort of sense of looking at things, it's like
What is reality?
Yeah.
Could
It's
just
whatever
be
you
like-
can taste, hear, touch, smell, and see.
this
and
could just
feel.
be one press of the button for
some coder.
PS5. What's the one with the cars and the gangsters?
Oh, we talked about
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto. We talked about that before.
This
yeah.
could just be one go around through Grand Theft Auto.
What a boring game my life would be.
You're one of the lame people that eventually jumps out of the way of the car.
That's right.
That's true though. You're limited by what your senses tell you, and you're also imprisoned by them.
Well, and your senses
You're a prisoner of your own brain in a sense. You don't know what.
and it's nothing more than electrical impulses.
Yeah.
What always trips
You
me
know?
out, like just us sitting in a group here, is like we all sit here and we all have unique perspectives on the universe from where we sit right now. Like each of us sees this whole thing as a different story altogether, just looking out of our own heads.
And words can't describe how you feel right now.
No, and I'll never know
How
how
I feel right now.
any of you guys feel about the universe that we see.
We can
It's
approximate it.
You can approximate it, but then your own sense of reality is, you know what I mean? Like the things that you learn. It's just that always just trips me out quite a bit.
One of the pieces of evidence in this article, I don't remember where the article was written by or by whom, but it said that one of the evidences, now I'm just making up words, one of the pieces of evidence was that everything can be quantified numerically,
Yeah.
and everything's cyclical. Everything can be quantified with mathematics, cycles, everything. And that could be a program. This whole thing could be a giant program,
That's why
folks.
our calendar works so well.
I'm seeing emerald green streams of like digital data just falling down.
I know, right? Well, before this gets too off the rails, I guess we should wrap up.
Do a kick.
I want to say one last thing to close off, if I may, just once. Is
Go ahead.
that I think for me the most interesting part of this whole discussion is not the objective potential of reality, but just the subjective take on it, which is that some people in this world are convinced of aliens and just want to believe it, and they just go there and they're drawn.
Searching for it.
Other
searching
people
for it. And
are
searching
like
for
just
it.
totally just anchored and just pulled like a magnet to like physics, and just I only want to know or think or believe what I can prove with my little scientific methodology, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's those two sides.
There's two sides
The
to the
bottom
spectrum.
line is we're talking about something that we can't know, or at least at this point we don't know about. And yet the interesting thing is that there's two sets of people, right? Some are like just drawn over here, and others are just drawn here. And the only way to be 100% honest with yourself, and this is the same for religion, for me, and that's why not agnosticism, but
Atheism.
not atheism.
Agnostic
Over here.
agnostic's where you sort of are open to the idea of
Yeah.
religion,
It's like-
but you're not committed to
You
one.
just admit that you don't know,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
more
and
accurate.
you
Yeah.
can't know at this point in time.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the bottom
only
line, yeah.
truthful take on it. And it's the same for religion as it is for aliens or anything paranormal.
Yeah, I can't say Roswell wasn't real. I can't say it was. I can't say God exists or doesn't. It's true. We're all very stupid and have that narrow bandwidth of focus.
And I think the people over here who just totally talk to the mountain and say, hey, this is how it is, they're no more whacked out than the people over here who say you're 100%, you're a lunatic.
Yeah, or that you're in a simulation. Like scientists that say you're in a simulation. That to me, that's just about as good as saying,
you know what, though,
there's a God.
The scariest thing is when people totally commit to something and will kill for it because they believed it to be truth, even though that nobody knows what truth is or isn't. That's sort of where, that's where I was sort of pulling the discussion, is that none of us know shit.
No, yeah, that's true.
None of us know shit. So get your head out of your ass and stop being so...
It's a good conversation, though. I mean, we can sit around here and talk about this all night long, I think. About UFOs and shit like that.
Yeah, this was, like, the first half of this was very succinct and pointed, and now we've just sort of caught up into existence. But, hey, it's supposed to be interesting. I think Al really summed that up quite well, and that none of us really know anything. Yeah. And but we have a podcast, and we're going to try and solve the secrets of the universe.
Well, I think it's actually quite easy when you're talking about UFOs and the things that we've talked about today to kind of go off and really talk about something that's philosophical and deep, because we don't know.
Yep.
We're all having an existential crisis. I remember when we were camping one time, me and Nick talked about simulation theory, and one of our friends' wives started freaking out. And Nick calmly looks back from his manga and goes, what the fuck difference would it make? Anyway?
Yeah, it's true. What would it make?
It's true. What difference would it make?
I'm just Cypher in the Matrix, just ignorance is bliss as I eat my steak.
Yeah. Would it really change for you if someone said to you, yeah, we figured out this was a simulation? I mean, would it really...
Could they get me out?
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah,
it
could they get me out?
If they couldn't get me out, then it wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah.
I'd be that guy that works for the Merovingian. I'd be like, I'm in. I don't care. I know it's bullshit, but I'm in.
Yeah.
Can I fly?
Can I fly? You can certainly try.
I think to sum this up, you only get one shot here that we know of. And just drink some beers, have fun, and listen to Improperganda.